SOE, the state-owned enterprise, there are some world-class companies in China that are state-owned. There are also some very horrible ones. The difference, what separates the SOE, the state-owned enterprise, from all the others, is that they're not always, their incentive to be in operation is not always to make money. I've been to a few SOEs where it's a large factory in a small town. Everybody works at the factory, and that factory is the healthcare system. It's the iron rice bowl, as they say, for all of the people. And they don't care about how many units they make that meet a certain quality or how many parts they sell. They just want to keep people employed. So if you're dealing with a supplier like that, lead times can get stretched. Defect rates might not be as tight as you would like. So most SOEs are good, but when they're bad, they're really bad. So when you're visiting factories, find out who owns it and ask some questions. Okay, this one is the hardest to answer. Global Sources asked me to come in and say, how do you teach people how to find a supplier in China? Well, I've been working at that for 12 years, and when I thought I had it down, 2 years ago I wrote a 300-page book on that very topic. Then I converted it into 10 videos that you can find on the Global Sources Buyer Education page. Then I wrote a few blog posts, and now I'm trying to consolidate it down to one PowerPoint slide. And it's hard to take 12 years and squeeze it in there, but let me give you the highlights at a very elevated level. These steps for how do you find a good supplier. Now keep in mind, it's easy to find a supplier. I can walk downstairs to the hallway and say, someone sell me an iPad case. Okay, I just found a supplier. Is that a good supplier for my particular needs? Maybe not. So today I want to talk about how do you find the right supplier for your needs. The first step is define what you want. What is your ideal supplier? For example, do they have certain types of technology, production equipment, location, experience, intellectual property? So write down, it's like going out on a date or looking for a husband or wife. What do I want in this relationship? So write it down, because if you don't actually write it down, I guarantee what will happen is you'll start to get some quotes, and you will naturally lean towards the supplier that has the best quote, and you'll say, hey, you know what? That quote's pretty good. Maybe intellectual property isn't so important, or maybe that quality control, I can work with them to fix it. That's the opposite of what you should do. You should really focus on what's important for you, and then ask price way down on between step 3 and 4. I'll get to that in a second. So first you define your supplier. What is the ideal supplier? Then you go to these online resources. Global Sources makes it easy, and you type in. Well, today I saw a lot of iPhone cases. So iPhone 5 case. Wow, there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of suppliers. So then what you do is you become very picky. You go through the website and you see, okay, I was looking for a supplier in Dongguan, China that's close to my other supplier of other components so I can ship out of Hong Kong. So don't be afraid to just delete hundreds and hundreds of suppliers because they're not in the right neighborhood. You have to really be picky, or you're going to end up trying to get quotes from 100 suppliers and waste your whole year when you should be out in production making money. So be picky, narrow it down to like 5 that are a good fit, and then make contact with them. So don't call 50 of them up and say, send me a price, this is what I want to buy, because they're going to ask questions and it'll just waste so much time. So narrow it down to 5, and then you make contact. Don't necessarily focus on price at this point yet. Find out, do they really have that technology you need? They said they sell to Japan and understand the Japanese standard. Can you send me a sample or give me some type of cert? Oh, you can do the language in Spanish? Great, send me a sample. So ask those specific questions, and if the answers come back positive, then generally what I do is I move to an audit and due diligence on the top 2 and 3. Now, audits and due diligence cost hundreds, not thousands of dollars, but if you have to spend that money on 15 suppliers, it's a waste. So get it down to 2 or 3, and then have an audit and some due diligence done. I'll talk about that in a moment. Next, of course, comes the test order before the full order, which often new buyers are so excited to get to market. I think I found the right supplier. Bam, here's the purchase order for this year's worth of supply. What, you missed the delivery date? No, I said pink, not red, and you're out of business because you put it all on the table. So take it slow, make make the supplier prove that they're worthy of doing business with you. So don't be afraid to do a small test order, even if you have to negotiate with the supplier. Say, look, I know my pricing is for this large order, but just to get us started, I'm willing to pay a premium per unit because I need to do a test order. Okay, and then your full order. That is an extreme oversimplification, but let me go through a couple of the key points in that process. Okay. First, let's address some quality terms. When I was new, I would often get confused. What's the difference between testing, auditing, inspection? It's all quality control, right? Well, when you're communicating with service providers and factories, you need to be clear, make sure that both sides understand these terms. Put simply, an audit is to verify that the system for running the factory, generally the quality control system, is there. They have a system for making a product. You could have an audit, an ISO audit on a factory that makes concrete life jackets. Now the concrete life jacket, if you jump in the water, you're going to sink. It's not going to save anybody. The product's not safe. But those life jackets, concrete life jackets, could be made in accordance with a proper ISO quality management system. Audit is just the system. Testing is to take the product and deliver it to make sure it conforms with your the regulations in your country. So, for example, hopefully a concrete life jacket would not be accepted for boating use in America. So the testing is going to say this product is not safe or fit for function. Inspection is when you place the order for the life jackets, and now you want to make sure that the production that's taking place matches your pre-agreed sample. So inspection is pulling something from the line, testing is sending it to a laboratory, and an audit is looking at the factory as a whole. Okay, now there are two kinds of audits. The one that's used by far the most is a simple factory audit. It's an assessment of the factory itself. Do they have the skills? Do they have the equipment, the process, the experience? I don't want this to be a sales pitch, but I am on the board of advisors of an inspection firm that does auditing, Asia Quality Focus. So I'm in this business indirectly. I'm a minority partner, and I'm letting you behind the scenes in how the process works. So with a factory audit, you can pay anywhere from the cheapest ones I've ever seen in China are about 198. The expensive ones are 600. The median in China for a professional audit of a simple factory audit is just under $300. And there are inspection agents down on the floor that will quote probably in that area. So for a few $100s, you can have a professional auditor go in and verify that your supplier is legit. Now, don't do that for every supplier unless you're serious about doing business because you don't want to waste money. But know that it's very affordable. The social audit is a little bit more expensive. That's usually double or triple the price because it requires more, a different skill set for the auditor. And this is to go in and check things like, is overtime being paid, any child labor, workplace conformance. And the social audit, to be honest, I think it's important, but most buyers who don't have a famous brand, they focus on the factory audit. Now, if you're selling to Disney, or you're putting someone else's famous brand, you better do a social audit on that factory before you place an order. Okay, testing. A lead test, for example, is something that takes place in a lab. What a lot of buyers don't realize is that all the major labs have offices and proper laboratories in China. Some of my American customers think that they need to get the product in China, FedEx it to New Jersey, go use the New Jersey lab, send it back to China to start production. You can save so much money by just appointing the labs that are in China. So inspection, roughly the same cost as a simple factory audit, a couple $100 to have an independent person go to the factory, basically close their eyes, pick product at random from the production line, and compare it to your pre-agreed sample. So some of the new buyers, some of the small buyers come to me and say, Mike, I don't have $500 to spend on auditing and inspections. Then I say, do yourself a favor, keep the money in your pocket. You're not ready to go direct to China. That's the fact. If you can't spend a little bit of money to make sure that your factory is legit, you're gambling. Go to Macau, you'll have more fun. So you can purchase Chinese-made products from a distributor, perhaps online, which can be a little bit risky, or use the broker in your home country to get started, build up some volume, and then go factory direct. So maybe